Welcome to Ancient Wild TV. Today we're diving into one of the biggest mysteries of the dinosaur world. How did the mighty Tyrannosaurus rex, the king of the dinosaurs, grow so massive and become the most fearsome predator of the Cretaceous period? Not every carnivorous dinosaur reached such colossal sizes, so what made T-Rex stand out? From the enormous amount of food it needed to the vast territories it ruled, we'll uncover it all in today's video. Let's journey back in time to uncover the secrets behind one of the most powerful predators to ever walk the earth. Tyrannosaurus rex is perhaps the most famous and beloved dinosaur of all time. When people think of theropod dinosaurs, or even dinosaurs in general, T-Rex often leaps to mind. In many ways, Tyrannosaurus stands apart from most other theropod dinosaurs. Although large theropods existed in most dinosaur-dominated ecosystems, very few species even approach the colossal size of the tyrant lizard king. So why did Tyrannosaurus rex grow so massive? And why didn't most other Mesozoic ecosystems host apex predators of similar proportions? This video aims to unravel these mysteries. To understand how Tyrannosaurus could achieve such exceptional size, we must first delve into the usual size limitations that large predators face. The sheer amount of prey required to sustain even a single carnivore is enormous, meaning that large predators are much rarer than their prey. A bigger body demands more energy, creating a natural pressure not to grow larger than necessary. However, greater size allows a predator to hunt bigger animals, and nature abhors a vacuum. But beyond a certain point, the benefits of increased size are outweighed by greater energy costs. If a larger predator can't kill more prey than a smaller one, or if the additional herbivores it can hunt are too few to offset its costs, it becomes less competitive and risks extinction. Therefore, the maximum size of a predator in an ecosystem is determined by the size of the herbivores. But finding enough food isn't the only challenge. Generally, larger herbivores are less common than smaller ones. To compensate, larger predators need bigger territories. The bigger the predator, the larger the range required to support it, resulting in a smaller total population of the species. With fewer individuals, they're more vulnerable to random events that could drive them to extinction. Fewer individuals also mean less genetic diversity within the population, reducing their ability to adapt quickly to changing conditions or diseases. Yet, Tyrannosaurus doesn't seem to be just a lucky exception. It ruled North America for at least 2 million years and appears to have gone extinct only because of that infamous meteorite that few are fond of. There's also a lineage of carcharodontosaurids of similar size to Tyrannosaurus in South America and Africa. They lasted even longer than Tyrannosaurus. Spinosaurus, which lived alongside one of these giant carcharodontosaurids, also reached sizes comparable to Tyrannosaurus. Clearly, there were ways to overcome the challenges faced by large predators, ways that Tyrannosaurus exploited. Since predators are shaped by the environments they live in, understanding how Tyrannosaurus could grow so large requires us to first comprehend how its environment differed from that of its ancestors. Before Tyrannosaurus evolved, the apex predators in late Cretaceous North America were all members of Tyrannosauridae. the same clade as Tyrannosaurus. But despite their large size, these earlier tyrannosaurids didn't measure up to the later tyrant king. While lower body mass estimates for Tyrannosaurus are about 8.4 tons, most other tyrannosaurids didn't exceed 1/3 of that figure. Most of the prey for these tyrannosaurids were hadrosaurids or ceratopsians. They were large and abundant enough to support predators bigger than any living today, and large enough to require massive size to bring them down. However, they were still too small for a predator the size of Tyrannosaurus to be competitive. Most earlier tyrannosaurids were also much faster than Tyrannosaurus, and could therefore hunt smaller, quicker prey like ornithomimids. In contrast, the enormous size of Tyrannosaurus made it too slow to catch such prey, limiting its dietary options. However, the fauna that coexisted with Tyrannosaurus from 68 to 66 million years ago was vastly different from that of 25 million years earlier. Overall, the large herbivores that coexisted with Tyrannosaurus were much larger than their ancestors. Many species, such as Ankylosaurus and ceratopsians like Triceratops, were the largest branches of their respective lineages. Edmontosaurus, although not the largest known hadrosaurid, was still much bigger than most of its predecessors. Bringing down these giants would have been a daunting challenge for the earlier tyrannosaurids. So it seems that Tyrannosaurus needed to grow larger to hunt bigger prey. However, although much larger than the usual prey of most other tyrannosaurids, the Jurassic and Cretaceous periods were filled with herbivorous dinosaurs much bigger than those that coexisted with Tyrannosaurus. Yet very few of those ecosystems had predators the size of Tyrannosaurus. So why is that? The answer seems to lie in the differences between the large herbivores primarily in late Cretaceous North America and those seen in most other Jurassic and Cretaceous ecosystems. Instead of ceratopsians and hadrosaurs, the large herbivores in most of these ecosystems were sauropods, creatures with very intriguing population dynamics. It's believed that there were very few adult sauropods compared to juveniles. This small number of adults would have been nearly safe from predators and continuously laid new eggs. Not many of these could survive, and for every sauropod that reached adulthood, countless others perished. In the case of the larger sauropods, there would be too few adults in a given area for apex predators to easily specialize in hunting them. While it might have been possible to kill these adults, it was extremely dangerous, and there were too few of them for local predators to attempt it often. Instead, the large contemporaneous theropods seem to have primarily subsisted on the more abundant and less threatening juveniles. Therefore, the presence of massive herbivores in sauropod-dominated ecosystems didn't directly influence the maximum size of apex predators, unlike in late Cretaceous North America. Most of Tyrannosaurus's prey were not sauropods, and although they still had higher numbers of juveniles compared to large mammals, adults made up more of the population and total biomass. This allowed Tyrannosaurus to grow large enough to regularly hunt adult individuals of larger species. It appears that theropods specializing in hunting sauropods didn't need to be as large as their prey to bring them down. The razor-sharp teeth of Carcharodontosaurids allowed them to easily slice through the flesh of whale-sized prey, causing them to slowly weaken from blood loss. On the other hand, abelisaurids seem to have specialized in attacking the weakest part of sauropods, their necks, by biting and holding until the sauropod suffocated. The Asian Tyrannosaurid Tarbosaurus one of the largest tyrannosaurids after Tyrannosaurus, seems to have used a similar strategy. Enabled by a more robust skull than most other tyrannosaurids. The end result is that theropods in sauropod-dominated ecosystems only grew as large as Tyrannosaurus in ecosystems with the largest sauropods, like Maposaurus and Argentinosaurus. Tyrannosaurus lacked these features. Instead, it had a bone-crushing bite, the most powerful bite force of any terrestrial animal in Earth's history. But as formidable as it was, with larger prey like sauropods, there was less opportunity to crush bones. Unfortunately for Tyrannosaurus, its tooth shape was less effective at slicing flesh compared to Carcharodontosaurids, meaning it would struggle to hunt animals significantly larger than itself. As a side note, this might mean that Tyrannosaurus couldn't hunt adult Alamosaurus, a large sauropod that migrated to western North America from South America. Juveniles, however, might still have been vulnerable. Although the relative abundance of large, slow prey made individuals the size of Tyrannosaurus viable, and its hunting methods pressured it to become larger, this still doesn't explain how Tyrannosaurus overcame the usual problems of severely depleted populations and the vast territories required by each individual. Part of the answer lies in the total range of Tyrannosaurus, which differed from earlier North American tyrannosaurids. For much of the late Cretaceous, North America wasn't uniform. The western interior seaway split the continent into two parts. The western half, called Laramidia, is where the ancestors of Tyrannosaurus rex evolved. At any given time, Laramidia seems to have been divided into 2 to 3 ecosystems, each with largely distinct but closely related faunas. Each of these ecosystems had a tyrannosaurid species as the apex predator, and there may have even been more than one species in some cases. With such limited ranges, the total population size of these predators would have been constrained to maintain viable numbers. Then, toward the end of the Cretaceous, sea levels dropped, both increasing the total land area and connecting the eastern and western halves of North America. However, western North America was still divided into 3 ecosystems. For example, in one region, the most common large herbivores were Triceratops and Edmontosaurus. In another, they were Torosaurus and Alamosaurus. But unlike 25 million years earlier, Tyrannosaurus was present in all 3 of these ecosystems. Tyrannosaurus might also have been present in eastern North America, but the fossil record there is too sparse to be certain. Regardless, the result was that Tyrannosaurus rex possessed a much larger range than any previous tyrannosaurid species. While each individual Tyrannosaurus required more territory than its ancestors, there was also more territory available. In turn, this allowed a higher total population and greater genetic diversity than would have been possible for a predator the size of Tyrannosaurus. In these ecosystems, Tyrannosaurus would also have had very little competition. The largest predatory dinosaur coexisting with Tyrannosaurus was the 5.5-meter-long Dakota raptor. It wasn't just other dinosaurs that Tyrannosaurus didn't have to worry about. While some earlier tyrannosaurids had to compete with the giant crocodilian Deinosuchus, Deinosuchus was extinct by the time Tyrannosaurus evolved. But the opportunities created by the environment it lived in weren't the only reasons Tyrannosaurus could maintain sufficient genetic diversity. Another factor is that at any given time, most of the living Tyrannosaurus individuals weren't actually supported by populations of large herbivores. This is due to the differences between adult and juvenile Tyrannosaurus. Juvenile Tyrannosaurus rex weren't just smaller versions of the adults. Instead, they had a more slender build that allowed them to reach higher speeds. Although it's been proposed that Tyrannosaurus hunted in packs of mixed ages, with faster juveniles catching prey and stronger adults killing it. Such behavior wasn't really necessary for Tyrannosaurus. Any prey that only the faster juveniles could catch wouldn't need adults to finish it off. Similarly, prey that required adults to kill, like Edmontosaurus, were even slower than adult Tyrannosaurus. Given that each growth stage was better suited to hunting specific types of prey, it seems that juveniles live separately from adults, each feeding on different groups of species. Therefore, large herbivores were only needed to support the adults. The rest of the population lived off smaller prey. However, an ecosystem can support more medium-sized predators than apex predators. Since juvenile Tyrannosaurus were the only medium-sized predators in the ecosystem, it's possible that the number of juveniles was much larger than necessary to replace the adult individuals. Because juvenile Tyrannosaurus fossils are much rarer than adults, this suggests they had a relatively low mortality rate, and most that reached the medium-sized predator stage also reached adulthood. The ecosystem couldn't support as many adult Tyrannosaurus as this, so what happened to them? The answer seems to be that adult Tyrannosaurus didn't live very long. While it took 18 years for a Tyrannosaurus to reach sexual maturity, on average, it only lived for 6 years afterward. Even the two oldest known Tyrannosaurus specimens, Trix and Scotty, were only about 30 years old when they died. Therefore, even the oldest individuals spent most of their lives as juveniles. A low mortality rate among juveniles followed by a high mortality rate among adults is often the result of stresses associated with reproduction. This can include anything from caring for offspring to intense competition for mates. Additionally, while Tyrannosaurus rex was probably the most formidable predator ever to evolve, hunting was still risky because its main prey were themselves dangerous. Like most large predators, Tyrannosaurus would have primarily targeted weaker individuals, the young, old, or sick, though this still carried the risk of death. Whatever caused the high mortality rate among adult Tyrannosaurus, although certainly grim for the individuals, had real advantages at the species level. An average of 6 years is short enough to allow most juveniles to mature without overly impacting the ecosystem. That period is also long enough for most to reproduce before dying. This allowed Tyrannosaurus to maintain greater genetic diversity than might otherwise have been possible for such a large predator. Overall, many factors contributed to the colossal size of Tyrannosaurus. These include a larger range, bigger prey, hunting methods that favored increased size, the population dynamics of its prey compared to those in sauropod-dominated ecosystems, and the population dynamics of Tyrannosaurus itself. Some factors, such as juveniles serving as medium-sized predators in the ecosystem, were present in some other large theropods, while others, like hunting methods favoring larger size, appeared only in its close relatives that lived in environments too small for a large predator. Once that environment changed, the result was one of the most fearsome predators the world has ever seen. And there you have it. Those are the reasons why Tyrannosaurus rex grew to such an extraordinary size and reigned supreme at the top of the food chain during the Cretaceous. From its unmatched hunting abilities to the changing ecosystems, T-Rex truly is a legend of the dinosaur age. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to Ancient Wild TV for more exciting explorations into the ancient wild. See you next time on our next adventure.